looking forward to match week 10 of the English Premier League. Early kickoff on Saturday is Brighton in 16th, taking on second place Liverpool. Craig Marias, we heard Jurgen Klopp's been making a lot about this early kickoff. He doesn't like it. He's been moaning a lot, but you can understand Liverpool are pretty badly hit injury-wise.
Yeah, I've been a little bit vocal about this, to be honest with you. I said it when Ole had the same thing at United. I think it was just before we played Everton. Sometimes the scheduling is an absolute disgrace, and I can understand his frustrations. It's at a time when Liverpool need all the rest that they can get, and with the fixtures congestion together that as it is, it's just not acceptable. I mean, these players aren't robots, so it goes without saying. It just doesn't help the situation. He's forced to play a weakened side against Atalanta. He's forced to do that. There's no two ways about it. I know the argument could be, well, that's why you have a 25, player squad or a 30-man squad or whatever it is. But if you want to get the best results for your team, you need to be able, you talk about European competition, you've got to be able to put your best squad out. I actually have sympathy for him. I really do. Just because we faced United, we got lucky. We played really well. We got the win. But if Liverpool were to drop points over the weekend, there's no doubt that the schedule is going to get the brunt of it, and rightly so.
Yeah. All right. Just quickly about Brighton here, Keish. They look in good form. We saw last week Danny Welbeck could be a very useful addition. They're at home. They've been unlucky so far this season. Even the defeat against United, they hit the bar like 4 times or something in that game. Do they have a chance?
No, they definitely do. I think they've got a pretty decent squad. I really, really, really like Solly March.
Yeah.
I think he's a really good player. I just added him into the fantasy team as well last week. He's a great attacker. I think he was the guy that hit the bar like 3 or 4 times against Man United. Trossard is excellent up front as well. You got McAllister, who is it's a Scottish name.
It's a Scottish name, for sure.
He's Argentinian, right, or something?
But he's Argentinian. Yeah. He was born and raised in Argentina, and they brought him back from there, and he's looking great as well. He's every game he's starting to look better on the pitch. And then you have Danny Welbeck, who I think is a useful signing for any Premier League club at the moment, especially since. If there's one thing about Welbeck that you can count on is that he will do whatever you ask him to do on the pitch. You play him out on the wide, he plays there. You play him in the middle, he plays there. And for a manager like Graham Potter, who wants his attackers to be flexible enough to adapt to the kind of ideas that he has, I think Welbeck could be really, really useful for Brighton. And judging by Liverpool's situation at the moment with their injuries, with that defeat to Atalanta, Brighton will be looking at this and thinking that, hey, we've got a chance here. We're playing at home. But the other part, the flip side to that is every single time Liverpool lose,
they react.
They come out firing. They come out looking for a reaction. Yeah. So that could completely backfire against Brighton as well this weekend.
Yeah, and possibly, Bob, in Liverpool's favour, Henderson and Thiago might be back and available. They weren't involved in midweek. They're massive in that midfield.
Well, I'd put more money on Henderson playing than Thiago. He's been threatening to play for quite a while now, and he hasn't. I hope he doesn't become another Keita, because, he hasn't done much yet. He was the big signing rather than Jota. Jota was almost an afterthought, yet it's Jota that's made the biggest impact. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, Thiago, yes. He missed quite a bit of last season for Bayern, actually, but came back towards the end, played a big part in Champions League win. I think they need him. With all these injuries, I don't think they can compensate, any club can compensate for losing your 2 main centre-backs for the entire season. That is huge. They've got Fabinho, who's a pretty decent replacement for one of them, but they're struggling a bit. And they've got to make up for this elsewhere. And Thiago is the man who can do that. He can find the openings that other players can't. And he brings a different style to the midfield. And that was the breath of fresh air that midfield needed. And it was a brilliant signing. And it's been very unfortunate for Liverpool that he's not been able to show it. I think if he can stay fit, he can still turn it round and Liverpool can still win the title. But they need him that very badly.
All right. Well, Tariq Lamptey is suspended for Brighton following his red card against Aston Villa. It is the early kickoff on Saturday evening. Brighton against Liverpool, 8:30 p.m. Man City in 13th. That's weird. Taking on Burnley in 17th. This is your Saturday 11 o'clock game. City were impressive, I guess, against Olympiacos. There was a really nice goal, Craig, that won it from Foden. Foden's stats when playing for City is very impressive. He doesn't always get a run out. Pep is using him very sparsely. Now, City in the Premier League have been poor. 10 goals scored, I was reading. That's incredible, right?
Yeah, it's shocking. And just go back to your Foden point, you know. I mean, he plays well for England, gets 2 goals, gets put on the bench. Scores in midweek, you know, this week. We'll wait and see. But, you know, if you go on throughout the season, you know, he struggled to get into Pep's Premier League side. He's all right in Europe. He starts in Europe. But he struggled to get into the Premier League side. And he's come off the bench in the Premier League, made a difference every time he's played. It's a little bit worrying. How I see it from Pep is that he still doesn't know his best 11. And he's been there, 4 years now? So, something like that. 5 years?
Yeah.
And he's still struggling to find out his best 11. And it's weird to say. I mean, you look at the fullbacks. I mean, he's obviously got a problem at left back with Mendy constantly injured. We look at right back, you know, it's between Walker and Cancelo. The only really guy who's nailed on is probably De Bruyne and Edison. You know, it's a toss-up between the rest, to be honest with you. Even the centre-back, you know, you see Laporte in and out of games. Whoever partners De Bruyne, is it going to be Gundogan? Rodri, okay, he's probably more nailed on than anyone else as well. But it just seems a bit weird. I mean, he's obviously got players who are fixtures in that side. You know, you've got 4 or 5 of them which get into that side. But around it, you know, it's a bit of a rotation. Everyone's playing on the right-hand side. You know, is it going to be Silva? Is it going to be Mahrez? Is it going to be Torres? It's just a bit of an unknown. I mean, you look through, you know, the sides in the league, you know, your Liverpools, your Uniteds, your Chelseas. You can literally tell the lineup, you know, on today's show. I can tell you who's going to start for Chelsea. I can tell you who's going to start for Man United. We'll get about 95% right. But with Pep and City, you just don't know. You just can't call it. It doesn't matter what you do in midweek. It doesn't matter because you could go out and have a blinder of a game. It doesn't guarantee you a start on the weekend. So for me, that's a massive problem. It really is. And, you know, you could say that he's trying to keep everyone happy, this and that. Look, you want to win titles. He knows how to do it. I'm no one to tell him what to do. But, you know, if you want to win titles, you have to have some consistency in that team. Yeah. And I think he really lacks it. I mean, we talk about Pep roulette. I mean, this is exactly it.
Absolutely. All right. Well, yeah. I understand Sergio Aguero is back, Keish, which will be massive because they need Aguero. Apparently, he's fit and firing now, according to Pep. So they need goals. They need to win. Hard to see Burnley in 17th getting absolutely anything out of this one. No disrespect to Burnley and all that. I'm not even going to talk you up.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to look at City and look at the issues that they have, but the reality is they're up against the side who've got bigger issues this season, and City will be looking at this as the perfect opportunity to bounce back. I mean, Aguero returning is a huge boost because I think it was 2 weeks ago, before the international break. I'm not sure what the latest numbers are, but 2 weeks before just before the international break, City were third from bottom when it came to conversion rate.
Wow.
Only Sheffield United and I think Fulham had a worse conversion rate than Manchester City. With the amount of chances that they create and how many of those translate to chances, into tangible goals. I mean, City have had an absolute nightmare this year when it comes to converting a lot of their chances. And having Aguero back in the front three will just help that instantly because they haven't got a consistent replacement for when he's out when Gabriel Jesus isn't, you know, firing at the moment. And to have him back in the lineup will just significantly boost the chances of scoring goals, not just for the game against Burnley, But the series of games that are coming after this, because for Pep at the moment, December is going to be a really busy month with the amount of midweek fixtures. And you look at his spot on the table, 13th isn't exactly a comforting number at the moment. So Pep will be eager to bounce back, and Aguero will help them do that.
Just to illustrate further Keishnan's point, against Olympiacos, Man City had 22 shots, 6 of them on target. Only Phil Foden scored. So there you have it.
I think Foden, as Craig was saying earlier, Foden's got to play more.
Yep,
I think
absolutely.
without looking at the stats, I'm pretty sure that his goals per minute ratio is pretty decent. I mean, and let's face it, I mean, he's not a striker, but he's probably among their leading scorers this season. He does pop them in. He's got that knack, and that's a bonus. And I think Pep has probably overlooked that.
Well, that's weird because he was always earmarked as the David Silva replacement when David Silva moved on. Because we always saw that, right? Foden came on as a sub in his early days.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's going to be a massive game. Everyone is expecting a Man City reaction. I feel sorry for Burnley, although we could be proven wrong. Man City Burnley is a Saturday, 11 p.m. kickoff. Everton in 6th take on 14th place Leeds United. This is your 1:30 a.m. Game on Sunday. Everton, we've spoken about early season. They look like contenders. Then they went 3 games on a losing streak. They won last weekend. And Ancelotti, Bob, tried a new formation last weekend. It was 3-4-3 most noticeably, which opens Everton up a lot. And we saw Fulham in with the goals as well. It's going to be fun, this game.
It could be. It could be another high-scoring game. And Everton won't have a Dean playing at left-back. They've got a young lad in there, so their defence will be a little bit weaker. And Leeds, I think, are due to bounce back. They've been a bit of a yo-yo team, but they have lost 2 games quite heavily. So they've got question marks at the back. Calvert-Lewin is still firing. Richarlison is there. I think this could be a cracking game. And it's anybody's. I mean, you've got 2 tactical wizards there, those managers. This is going to be worth watching, I reckon. Very much so. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely. The football purist, Quiche, is going to be salivating at this one. Just that the thought of, we know Bielsa's Leeds are attacking, and Ancelotti, I'm assuming, is going to stick with 3-4-3 for this one. They've got a new guy in, Belgian guy, Nkoku, in place of Digne. That's going to be massive for Everton. Leeds to bounce back for you? Question mark?
In many ways, Carlo Ancelotti is the complete antithesis of what everybody wants Bielsa to be in the Premier League, which is, pragmatic. And Carlo is an exceptionally pragmatic manager. Wherever he goes, depending on the team that you have, depending on the existing situation in terms of confidence and morale, he builds the team, which is why he's got no qualms switching it to a 3-4-3. He's got no qualms making changes in the starting 11. Because he's pragmatic, he looks at what he has and he builds his team based on that. I mean, Bielsa is different. He's got ideals. He's got principles that he needs to live up to, and he doesn't change them. One of the more interesting things is that statistically, in advanced metrics, when you look at the way Leeds United played in the Championship versus how they're playing in the Premier League, it's exactly the same. They have not dropped in terms of intensity. They have not altered their pressing style, nothing. Everything is the same. Bielsa promised that, and he's keeping up to his promise. Problem is, it's causing them in some games. It's forcing them to, concede goals at the back. It's forcing them to not be able to pick up necessary points like they didn't against Arsenal. So, stuff like that could come back to haunt. And you're starting to get ex-players come out, like Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank has come out and said that he wants Leeds United and Bielsa to be a bit more pragmatic in the Premier League. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Bielsa is the guy who believes in his principles, which is exactly what makes this clash a really, really fascinating one. The only annoying thing is that it's 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah,
Nothing,
That's the
Keish.
only
It's
annoying thing.
absolutely nothing.
But otherwise, it's a complete must-watch. It's a must-watch, this one, Everton versus Leeds.
Dude, 1:30 is way better than 4 a.m. Do you know what I mean? I don't know what you're complaining about there.
I don't think 1:30 is great for Bob, though.
It's a Saturday night as well, isn't it?
No, 4:30 is better for me. I get up early.
Now, Craig, Dini's gone. I'm gonna do my fantasy football league team. Yeah, I'm going to in a few moments. I've got to get rid of Dini. That's massive for Everton.
It is. If you're looking for a replacement, Ross, I'd go with Telles or Chilwell if you don't have either. Of them.
I think Chilwell's the guy for me.
Yeah, Chilwell will be the number one pick for me, being on set pieces and everything. But I agree with the boys. This is the game of the weekend for me. You've got two teams who love to attack. As Keish said about Bielsa, he's not going to hold back. I thought they were very unlucky against Leeds. Keish spoke about his principles and all that. I just thought it was pure luck. How they didn't score a goal is beyond me. I mean, they hit the bar. Not once, not twice, about 3 times, I think. And Arsenal, were just outplayed, and that was before they went down to 10 men. They were a lot better when they were playing with 10 men, to be honest with you. This Everton side, Richarlison coming back is so big for them. The stats, and I think Keish will back me up on this, the stats without Richarlison is crazy. Everton just can't seem to get a win.
Yeah.
But with Richarlison in that team, they're a different proposition. This is going to be a blockbuster of a match. I fancy an upset here. I'm going to go with Leeds. I was just so impressed with them against Arsenal. I'm going to go with Leeds.
I think Bob is also leaning that way. We've set it up nicely for you now, people. It's a Sunday 1:30 a.m. kickoff. Don't listen to what Keish says. Just have a cup of coffee. Stay awake a bit more. Everton
it's a Saturday night. You've got to be up at that time.
Exactly. Everton versus Leeds. Well worth the watch. All right, Southampton in 5th take on Manchester United in 10th. Bob, Southampton are going great guns. 3 wins and 2 draws in their last 5 EPL matches. I've been reading articles about how a good fit Hasenhüttl would be in the Man United setup. Bringing his know-how and training and literally you can see Southampton players how they know how to attack. They know which way to turn when the ball, they're so well choreographed, and it's all down to the coach, right?
Yeah. It's funny you should say that, because I was just thinking, well, it looks as if Ollie is going to make it to Christmas now. Poch is still there. The Real Madrid job is still possibly available, although they won this week, and that's receded slightly. But United won the last couple of games, and the pressure's eased a little bit on Ollie. But does it change things fundamentally? I mean, either he's up to the task or he's not. I mean, just getting the odd win here and there, beating a team like this Istanbul side, although they did beat United in the alternative game, just winning like that so comfortably, it doesn't really prove anything, does it? I mean, any of us here could have picked a side that would have won that game. And I like Ollie, even though I'm not a United fan, and I think he's a really good guy and all that, but I don't think he is tactically capable at this level. I don't think so. I think that's part of the problem. He's not helped, obviously, by the likes of Pogba having these monumental sulks.
With no director of football as well.
No, and still no director of football.
Yeah.
And Ed Woodward seems to have backed himself into a corner over Ollie now, because he'll lose face if he does sack him. I mean, he's very much behind him. He gave him the job on a permanent basis in the first place, and he's said, I'm supporting him. But he's really not up to the task. In the big games, you see it. He had luck against PSG on 2 occasions, didn't he? Last season.
What match are you watching, Bob?
Well,
PSG. You don't think United were lucky against PSG in the Champions League when he got the job?
Okay, Keith.
I've got a question. Okay. For someone that is consistently labeled as tactically inept, I'm not saying that Ole is the greatest manager on earth. I'm not saying that he's the greatest tactician on earth. But for someone who's labeled as tactically inept all the time, do you not rate his in-game management? He changed his system 3 times in the 90 minutes against PSG. He changed his system twice to benefit them against Red Bull Leipzig at home. He has got his tactics spot on, if anything, in the big games, Bob.
Yeah,
your
big games. I agree.
It's the big games. He's really done well.
We can argue his tactical inability to break down teams that defend, deeper, like your smaller teams. But in the big games, I think if you look at Ole's record against the big teams in the Champions League and in the Premier League, it's exceptional.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that he's the greatest tactician on it, but I never get this argument. It's almost like a convenient argument that everyone makes on online and in social media, that Ole is a PE teacher, that he's not a tactician.
Okay,
I think he's a lot better than he's given credit for.
Are you happy with him? I mean, you guys are United fans.
Yeah.
Are you happy with him? Are you?
I wouldn't change him for Poch if that's what you're asking me. I wouldn't change him for Poch.
At this rate, I wouldn't. I don't think Man United needs to chop and change managers. And more importantly, do I think Poch is the better manager than Ole? To some extent, yes. But do I think Ole is as bad as the media, as social media, more importantly, makes him look like? I don't think so.
No. I don't think he is. I don't think he is either. But all I'm saying is I don't think he is a top-level manager. And I think Manchester United require a guy from the very top of the tree.
Sorry, Bob. Post Sir Alex, we've had Louis van Gaal, we've had Jose Mourinho. Please tell me what these top-level managers have done with United.
Well, they weren't the right fit.
No.
They weren't the right fit.
But then we go back. No, you talk about top-level managers. What makes
How do we know if
Pochettino's
Poch is the right fit? Yeah.
We don't. We don't.
No. But then
it does. I think he's a better manager than Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
So were Mourinho and Van Gaal.
Okay, well
Van Gaal was past it. He never got the club, and I think there is this question of a fit. And that's very important. And he
Ole
clearly
gets the club.
didn't. He didn't. Ole does get the club. He is a fit. Ole is a fit. Perfect fit. But he's just not quite up to it, I don't think.
Okay.
I think it's just a media vendetta against him. I'm going to be honest with you.
Ross is struggling at the moment. Yeah.
I know. I'm going to stay impartial. I can see what Bob is saying here because you can't keep playing your West Broms and struggling year in, year out, every season. Just because they sit back. We saw the Olympiacos starting 11. Maybe that set the precedent the Istanbul starting 11. Maybe that set a precedent for the Southampton match. We shall wait and see. It's intriguing anyway. Craig, are you calling a Southampton win, did I hear you say?
No, you definitely didn't. I've got to back my team, haven't I? But in saying that, I think after good European wins, United haven't really done it.
No, that's the thing.
They really need to they need to get 3 points. There's no two ways about it. I'm going for United win.
All right, 10 p.m. Sunday kickoff, Southampton against Manchester United. Looking forward to Chelsea in third against top of the table Tottenham. 12:30 this one. Keish, I think that's more acceptable for your timing. Chelsea are 2 points behind Spurs, Keish. And if they win this, they can go top. If Spurs win this, we're saying Jose Mourinho's challenges are the real deal. This is a super massive London clash.
But tell me, Ross, that at this stage, judging by what we saw in the All or Nothing documentary, tell me that at this stage of the season, Jose isn't already talking about the title in the dressing room. I think he's already started. I think he's already looking at his boys and saying, we're right up there at the top. If the season ends now, we're up there. We win it. And I think he's using that to drive his players' mentality because that's what Jose does. He builds that idea because if there's one thing we know about the Spurs players, right, is that in the past they've always been accused of being too nice. they've always been accused of being too pedestrian. And I think Jose is trying to change that at the moment. And I think he's actively doing that in the dressing room as well. They're winning on the pitch, but outside the pitch, in the dressing room, I think he's drilling that unforgivable mentality into their heads. And these are the kind of games that Jose will be looking at and say, this is where we get a statement victories. The kind of victories that sends, shivers down the spines of your rivals. These are the kind of games that you guys get those wins in. They did it against City last time out. And if they do it again against Chelsea, I think the players will be, mentally building themselves up to challenge for the title. I think they're already there somewhat mentally, but a win against Chelsea would be absolutely massive.
Yeah, well, the season is a quarter old now. So Matt Doherty is apparently due to return because he's been missing.
Played last night.
Yeah, because of yeah, that's right. He played last night. Toby Alderweireld, though, is missing. Now, that's a groin problem. Could be a problem for Jose. What do you reckon, Craig, about Spurs this season? I know we're only 9 games in, but Keish's got a point. We all saw the documentary. Jose's probably got a replica trophy already in that dressing room, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one. On paper, Spurs have a squad that's able to compete. I think as the Premier League stands right now, it's quite open in the sense that, you look at United's and City's down there. Liverpool haven't really hit the heights, especially with their injury crisis. Chelsea are coming into it a little bit more now. And then you got your Leicesters, your Southamptons up there, potentially just filling in places. And Jose will look at that table and say, well, if we're ever going to have a chance, this will be the one. He looks across his squad, and you got Harry Kane, one of the world's best strikers there. You got Gareth Bale, who I'm sure once he gets to full fitness, is an asset to any club in the Premier League. I don't care which club it is, whether it's Liverpool, City, he's an asset. You got Son Heung-min, who I think is arguably one of the best players in the Premier League, if not the world. That's your attacking. I haven't even gone back there, and seeing in the midfield behind and the defence. So there is a squad there that's capable of winning. You look at the squad that they played last night in the Europa League. They benched them. Yeah. They can afford to bench these players and still come away with a 4-0 win. I mean, that's the type of squad he has. So is Spurs' challenge a real challenge? Yeah, I think so. I can't see why not. But the problem with Spurs is the mentality. And that's what Jose is trying to change, Yeah. We all know about the Spurs that implodes, do so well for 3/4 of the season or half the season and implode in the second half. We've seen it all before, we go back a few years. I think it was when Leicester won it. Spurs were right up there.
They Spurs themselves in the end.
Spurs themselves, and we've seen that time and again. So that is the challenge for Jose. I think they can. I think they can really push some teams as long as they have their players fit, and that's key.
Actually, if there's one manager who can probably alter mentality, it would be Jose Mourinho. All right, well, we've talked about what an impressive and possibly a title-winning squad that Chelsea have. If we say that, Spurs have. If we say that about Spurs, Bob, Chelsea, well, arguably, they've got an even better squad there with Lampard.
Yeah, on paper, definitely, yeah. I mean, but they've spent a lot of money, haven't they? They've spent $250 million, sorry, on players in the last year. And Spurs have not spent very much, but they bought well. Chelsea seem to have invested pretty well. I don't think they've got a dud among them since Kepa, anyway. I think they've made up for that with this goalkeeper Mendy, who looks excellent. And as I said before, that they've got the confidence in the squad. And I think Chelsea have a superior squad. Now, it's a clash between master and pupil here as managers, isn't it? And they've had mixed results when they faced each other. It'll be fascinating. I think this is another intriguing clash. I think last weekend we had good games, and this weekend we've got a couple of crackers. We've mentioned Leeds and Everton. I think this could be a equally brilliant match. And it could go some way to deciding which of these two teams, if not both, are challenging towards the end of the season. And I think Alderweireld's absence actually could swing it, because he was magnificent last weekend. I thought he was playing absolutely out of his skin, and I think he'll be a big loss. I know that Dyer has filled in quite well as a more conventional centre-back rather than a sort of defensive midfielder, as he was played before. But without Alderweireld next to him, I think they're going to miss Alderweireld quite a lot, and that could open things up. I mean, Chelsea have got a surfeit of top-class strikers, and they've got Werner, who probably could do with a rest. He seems to have played just about every minute so far. But look at, I mean, Giroud could even play for more than a couple of minutes. I mean, bringing him on is a threat, isn't it? So I think Chelsea have probably just got the edge here. I will go for Chelsea, but I think it could be a cracking game.
All right, intriguing stuff. Third versus first, Chelsea versus Tottenham is a Monday, midnight kickoff. Now, one that is very late for everybody is Arsenal in 12th against Wolves in 9th. Arsenal had a 3-0 win over Molde in the Europa League on Thursday. But I'm going to Wolves first, and I'm coming to you, Keish. They're 9th this season. They've done all right in their last 5, 2 wins, 2 draws, 1 defeat. They're slowly finding their feet. It's a bit changed this season. They've lost a few players. What are your thoughts on your other favorite team?
I think with Wolves, this was supposed to be the year where they make that jump, because for every team in that midway through the table, they've had a couple of really good years pushing teams in the top 6, and this was supposed to sort of be the year where they really challenge for the top 6. But I think the loss of Diogo Jota doesn't help. The player that he is at Liverpool, I think, is nowhere close to the kind of player that he was at Wolves. He's obviously, he fits really well into the Liverpool system with the kind of freedom that he gets, and that's why he's producing more with Liverpool than he ever did at Wolves. But he was an important player at Wolves, and losing him.
Can I just jump in there? Can I just jump in? Diego Jota was asked, why is this the best he's ever played, best football? He said, well, I'll tell you what, it's the best team I've ever played with. Yeah,
exactly. And he's not wrong. I mean, he's got so many players around him that allow him to that freedom to be able to do those things. With Wolves, it's a bit more restricted with the kind of systems that Nuno like to play. And I think the ongoing contractual saga with Adama Traore as well.
Yeah.
He's been, the talks have reportedly broken down. There are a lot of rumors about him potentially leaving the club, and I think that doesn't sit really well with Nuno and also some of the players at the top. So that might be affecting the team as well. So there's a number of factors in and out around the team that's sort of playing out at the moment. And I don't think Wolves will finish anywhere below the top 10. I think they still will. But, this was the season that they were supposed to push the top 6 to their extremes. And I just don't think at the moment they look like they're able to do that.
All right. Very quickly about Arsenal, Craig. They don't score many goals. I think Aubameyang's penalty was their goal of the month last season. Last month. But no, I mean, he's tightened them solidly at the back, Arteta, Arsenal. It's just going forward now.
Yeah, it's a weird one, because, prior to him coming into the job, we recognize Arsenal's flaws. The backbone of the team. They didn't really have a great defense, defensive midfielder in front of them. They've rectified most of it. I still think they could do with another centre back. If you ask me, I think Gabriel is a good signing for them, but they need one more. I don't think Luiz or Holding is the answer to it. But they've rectified most of it. But now the worrying thing is going forward. They seem very restricted. Aubameyang, for all his talents and for all his goal-scoring ability,
Ceballos hasn't sparked like he did last season.
Well, this is the thing, and you're crying out for number 10. Now, we know the situation with Ozil. He's not going to be, anywhere near the team, despite, being such a fantastic number 10. But when Ceballos does play, he doesn't play in the 10. He plays as one of the two defensive midfielders. So you restrict his creative freedom. I mean, you're looking at that team, and if you look at it and you play Partey, if you play El Neni, and you play Ceballos in front of them, you're going to get that creative aspect from Ceballos. But for whatever reason, he refuses to play that way. I do think going forward he has a lot of problems. Willian hasn't really fired. I mean, he was fantastic in the first game of the season. I think he had 3 assists, but he hasn't really got going. Pepe, I know he scored last night, but hasn't really been a consistent level for the 80 or 70 million or whatever it was that they paid for him. He's nowhere near that player. Lacazette, is he the answer to Arsenal's striking problems? I don't think so. He'll do a job. Nketiah's there. I mean, there's a lot. Saka. I mean, Saka, I rate Saka so highly, but he's a bit like a Foden situation. He's not really cemented himself into the team. A wonderful player, gets into the England team, but struggling to make the Arsenal team, which is a little bit baffling. So there's a lot of concerns there for Arsenal going forward. Defensively, I think they're all right. I actually think this is going to be a boring match. Wolves offer nothing going forward. Arsenal offer nothing going forward. I can see this ending in a draw, to be honest with you.
Well, there you go.
I wouldn't be staying up for this.
No.
I probably will, but I wouldn't recommend that you do.
0-0 on the cards. Arsenal versus Wolves, Monday, 3:15 a.m. kickoff. Leicester City in 4th against Fulham in 18th. Tuesday, 1:30 a.m. kickoff this one. Now, Leicester had a 3-3 draw in the Europa League, Bob, against Braga. They're there and thereabouts. I mean, if they keep it going, Brendan Rodgers seems to have the know-how to negotiate the Premier League. I mean, of course, he nearly won the title with Liverpool in his first stint.
Yeah, he did. He certainly did. And you wonder how differently things would have been if he had. Probably wouldn't have seen Jurgen Klopp. Certainly not at Liverpool. But I think he's learned a lot from his time at Liverpool and at Celtic, and he seems to have come back as a more mature manager. There's less of the gimmicks, and he's been backed up very well by the Thai owners of Leicester. They've spent money. They've also sold well. I mean, they've got decent money for one or two players. I mean, they got 50 million for Chilwell, a left back. I think he's a good player, but it's a fair price. So they seem to be a well-run club now, Leicester. And yes, I think they're very much right up there. Whether they're sort of permanent residents of the top 4 is another matter, or top 6 even. But they're certainly among the top 7 or 8, and they booked their place through in the Europa League, and they could be dark horses even for that. Yeah. They could, because I don't think they're going to seriously challenge for the Premier League title, but they're a good side, and they could well win a cup this season. I think that would be probably a reasonable return for Brendan Rodgers. So it's good to see that he's come back. I mean, he's not everybody's cup of tea, but I think he's doing a good job. Fair play to him. Yeah.
Well, opponents Fulham, the 18th, Keish. You look at them and you go, they already look doomed with 9 games gone. Do you see any fight? I mean, last weekend against Everton, at least they scored. I thought Lookman looked all right. They have to start with I was going to say Hudson-Odoi. It's not. It's the other one. Loftus-Cheek. He needs to start, because when he came on, they looked different, didn't they?
Yeah, it's really difficult for Fulham, because the last time they were up, we blamed it all on the fact that they changed their squad entirely. They spent, over 100 million just trying to build that squad again for the Premier League, and there was absolutely no chemistry. There was no team structure. There was no identity, and they crashed and burned. This time around, I think they've tried to do the opposite of that. They've tried to keep the squad that did well for them in the Championship. They've tried to just add here and there. I mean, Loftus-Cheek is obviously a quality player. I still think he should have gone on loan to a better club than Fulham. But it's not looking great at the moment, Ross. The up front, it's always dependence on Mitrovic,
Yeah.
and when he's not there, they struggle. And when you look elsewhere in the squad as well, there's not a lot of names. There's not a lot of players that you look at and go, that's an encouraging presence. That's someone that's going to keep the team up in the Premier League. And then you look on the touchlines and you see Scott Parker when they're 2-0 down, 3-0 down, and he doesn't exactly look, and he doesn't exactly has that confidence that's clear on his face.
No, but his hair looks smart though in that suit.
I mean, there's that. He looks like a Hollywood star. Definitely, I'll give him that. I don't know how much that does for players who are struggling on the
Not
pitch.
a lot, I imagine.
Not a lot, yeah. So I think, and I hate to say this because I was a fan of Scott Parker. I love the fact that Fulham went with a young industries manager. But I think, at some point, your Fulham are going to start knocking on the doors of your available names. I'm not saying specifically not specifically Big Sam or Neil Warnock, but names of that mold. Names of that mold. People who could come in and do a job and keep them up in the Premier League. Because the way it's going, I really don't think they're going to stay up.
All right, it's a 1:30 a.m. kickoff. Leicester in 4th against 18th place Fulham. West Ham and Aston Villa meet on Tuesday at 4 a.m. Craig Marias, if the Hammers win, they could go up as high as 5th. I understand this is the best start to a Premier League season in 5 years. All hail David Moyes.
How David Moyes has turned it around. I mean, it wasn't too long ago that we were looking for his head and saying, he's not, he's past it, he's not good enough for West Ham. It was a appointment which West Ham fans were slating and criticizing the board. They don't have a great relationship with the board as it is. And bringing David Moyes back for a second spell at the club was the last thing that they wanted. But wow. I mean, this season, West Ham have really found a system that suits them. They're playing in a way which suits them. I think one of the key factors for that is, for all that he's done for the club, but dropping Mark Noble, I think has given them a little bit more solidity in the middle of the park with Souček, with Declan Rice, who I think has been having an outstanding season, taking on that captain's armband. And then obviously up front, you got, I think Jared Bowen, I think he came in January. So he's kind of acclimatized to the pace of the Premier League. He's been a great player for them. Fornals has stepped into it as well.
Haller is now on a goal run, 2-2.
Wow, has he got 2-2? He's got one, hasn't he?
One for Ivory Coast.
He's got Ivory Coast. Yeah.
And come on, last weekend's goal was a bit special, right?
Oh, it was a great finish, yeah. But you just get that feeling as soon as Mikel Antonio comes back, he's back to the bench.
Which could be this weekend.
Which could be this week, yeah. But just going back to the system, tactically, I think they've got it right. They've gone with, the three at the back, Cresswell being part of that three, Masuaku playing as that left wing back. Fornals, I didn't think he came highly rated, but didn't really do it. But now he's starting to come in and contribute. Kufal, a new signing for them. I think it's been a revelation at right back for them. So they built a very good squad. You just fear, with a couple of injuries, it could go horribly wrong because I don't think they have that depth necessarily. But no, you got to give credit where it's due, and I think Moyes has got West Ham playing on the counter attack, which suits them. I think Antonio's crucial to that. So the sooner he's back, the better it'll be for West Ham and Moyes.
Yeah, agreed. Opponents Aston Villa, well, they look like they're going to be missing Ross Barkley in that midfield, and it's proved crucial so far, Bob Holmes. Because what that does is it gives opponents a lot more. Well, they can basically just concentrate on fouling Grealish, then, can't they?
Yeah, absolutely. But they've done pretty well overall. I think Villa fans would have taken this where they are right now at the start of the season. Some worried that they might be right down in the relegation trio. Yes, that's a good point, and I don't think Dean Smith quite realised that signing Barclay was going to have such a good effect on Grealish. I mean, he probably hoped it would, but it's worked like a treat. And I think they will miss him. And as Jose Mourinho showed, teams focus on Grealish and they foul him. I mean, he's just about the most fouled player. And he had a little bit of freedom because teams had to foul Barclay as well and McGinn. So he may find himself targeted a bit more. So it'll be interesting to see if he's as effective as he has been. But I think he's upped his game as well. I think he's maturing. I know his behavior with the car doesn't make good reading, but I don't think he's looking at a jail sentence. Hopefully not. But just getting back to David Moyes, I can't help but ask you United fans if you rate him among the top managers that Manchester United had.
For me, way below Ole. Way below Ole.
David Moyes? Are you talking about David Moyes?
Yeah.
Jesus, it's not even a question, really. Ridiculous.
I just wanted to get your reaction.
Okay, let me jump to Keish here. Who are you leaning towards here? The two claret and blue sides. And the other question is, there's been talk this week about Jack Grealish for Man City. I understand De Bruyne is saying nice things, and they all seem to be up for it. Would that be a great move, you reckon?
I suppose. I mean, he could. I'm sure he could fit in and play that passing game. But I mean, who is he going to replace in the starting 11? Is he going to get consistent games? And more importantly, is he going to be afforded the sort of freedom that Villa affords him as their main man? Because at the moment, you look at the City squad and you think De Bruyne is the main guy. When Foden comes in, he sometimes gets that freedom. Then you have Bernardo Silva. So once you get Jack Grealish in the team, what sort of a role is he going to get there? I'm not sure whether it'll be. He would fit in, definitely. I think he's good enough to fit in anywhere. It's just a matter of whether it's the right move for him, for Jack Grealish.
All right, West Ham or Villa for you this game?
Yeah, I'm going with Villa. I absolutely love what I've been seeing from them so far. That combination between Barkley and Jack Grealish, it hasn't just made Grealish great. It's also starting to bring out the best in your other guys, in your other players in the team as well. And I think there's more than enough in Villa to get a win over West Ham. It'll be close, but I'm inclined to pick Villa.
All right, West Ham against Aston Villa is a Tuesday, 4 a.m. kickoff. Some of the other ties over the weekend, Crystal Palace in 11th take on Newcastle in 15th. That's a Saturday, 4 a.m. game. Newcastle been hit by 3 positive COVID-19 tests. Bottom of the table clash sees West Brom take on Sheffield United Sunday, 4 a.m. That's it from the guys and I. Thanks for watching this week. That is your Match Week 11 preview. Match Week 10 preview, even.